She didn't like how her arms looked anymore. Not because they weren't strong, but because they didn't feel like hers. Over time, they had become heavier, softer, and harder to ignore. Even her back didn't feel as supportive as it used to, especially during simple daily movements. But instead of going to the gym or searching for complicated programs, she made a simple decision. She stayed right there in her living room, picked up her remote, and pressed play on a workout video. It didn't feel like a big moment at the time, but that small action was the beginning of something different. On the TV screen, a fitness instructor appeared and started with a basic movement, tricep dips. She watched closely, paying attention to how the movement was done, then positioned herself in front of her couch and tried to follow along. As she lowered her body, she immediately felt the weight in her arms. It wasn't easy, and her arms began to shake slightly, but she kept her eyes on the screen and pushed herself to try again, this time a little more controlled. The instructor then moved on to push-ups, and for a moment she hesitated. Getting down on the floor didn't feel as natural as it once did, but instead of giving up, she adjusted. She placed her knees down and followed the movement at her own pace. As she lowered her body and pushed back up, she could feel the effort building in her arms and shoulders. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress, and that was enough to keep her going. Next came arm circles, which looked simple at first. She stretched her arms out to the sides and began making small circles, just like the instructor on the screen. Within seconds, the burn started to build. Her shoulders tightened and her arms felt heavier with each rotation. She wanted to stop, but she kept going, reminding herself that even the smallest movements could make a difference if she stayed consistent. The focus then shifted to her back with the Superman exercise. She carefully lay down and followed along, lifting her arms and legs at the same time. At first, the movement felt unfamiliar, but after holding the position for a few seconds, she began to feel a gentle activation in her lower back. It wasn't intense, but it was enough to remind her that her body was still capable of getting stronger. Finally, the instructor introduced a bit of cardio with jump rope. She didn't have to move fast or be perfect. She simply followed the rhythm, making small, steady jumps while watching the screen. Her heart rate increased, her body warmed up, and for the first time in a while, she felt a sense of energy returning. As the days went by, she kept coming back to that same routine. Nothing about it was extreme or complicated, but it was consistent. She showed up, followed the movements on the screen, and gave what she could each day. Slowly, things began to change. Her arms started to feel firmer, her movements became easier, and her back felt stronger and more supportive. What made the difference wasn't a special program or a perfect routine. It was the decision to start, to keep going, and to stay consistent even when it felt difficult. She didn't need a gym or expensive equipment. Everything she needed was already there in her living room. The truth is, losing arm and back fat doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require doing everything at once. It simply requires doing something consistently and giving your body the chance to respond over time. So if you've been thinking about where to start, this is your reminder that it doesn't have to be complicated. You can begin right where you are. Press play, follow along, and take it one step at a time. Because real change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen when you decide not to stop.